Good morning and welcome to Spotlight, brought to you by the Georgetown, South Carolina NAACP branch number 5520. We got a lot to talk to you about upcoming meetings and happenings in the city because you need to get educated, motivated, and activated regarding your city and county and state and federal politics, government. And we're going to talk about some of that today and some implications from a recent visitor to South Carolina. We'll see you in a moment.
Heavenly Father, we ask you to put a hand of protection.
Welcome back, folks. I'm Marilyn Hemingway, Second Vice President of Georgetown NAACP number 5520. And let me bring on my co-host to join us, Mr. Deontay Winchester, First Vice President of Georgetown NAACP. Good morning, Deontay.
Good morning, Miss Marilyn. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Good to see you. How's the family doing? And the
everybody is good, and that young lady is doing very well, keeping me moving for sure.
Good. That's what I heard they're supposed to keep you young, but I'll leave that to you to tell me.
You can get some of that youth whenever you want it.
All right, now, Auntie Marilyn got to babysit sometime. That'll be fine. All right, then let's bring in our other co-host, Miss Ebony Hughes, Third Vice President and Chair of our Education Committee. Ebony, how are you?
Good morning, everyone. Doing well. I'm glad to be on. I'm actually traveling today, and so here I am on a picture.
Very good. And thank you for joining us, Ebony. So she's here, y'all. She sounds good. She is traveling, so we're not going to ask her to turn her video on because we want her to travel safely. But let's dive into what's coming up, the important meetings that folks need to know about. And then let's get into a couple of topics here that folks need, because we had a particular visitor, for some people not welcomed into South Carolina, but a lot of implications. But let's start with what's coming up. And y'all mark this down, and I will throughout our show, we'll run the scroll at the bottom of the screen. But we have coming up on this Monday and Tuesday a public meeting because they want some input regarding Hasty Point Plantation, which is located in Plantersville, South Carolina. And why is this important for the African American and Gullah Geechee community? Because it's next to the Waccamaw Wildlife Refuge, but they want to include the community in this effort. And you know something, it's more than what they want. They must include the Gullah Geechee community, because without our enslaved ancestors, what we see now happening along the coast would not be happening. So any thoughts, Ebony? Ebony, you did catch a meeting earlier. Any encouragement for people to join? And hello, JD. Thanks for joining us this morning. Deontay, can you, any few words? And I don't know if Ebony can unmute, but go ahead, Deontay.
We might have lost her for a minute. But if they're looking for community involvement, it is vital that we do give them that involvement. So many times we as a community choose not to become involved in local politics and things of that nature, but it's so very important. I urge everyone who can and will, please attend all these meetings and become involved as much as you can.
Thank you, Deontay. And it is important. I'm glad you brought that up, because it's more than just voting. We have to be engaged as citizens. We need to attend meetings to get educated, informed about the issues, about what's going on in our community, or we will be left behind. And that is no longer acceptable, folks, that we are going to be left behind. Also coming up on Monday, if you live in the city of Georgetown, they have some open seats on the Architectural Review Board in the city, the Board of Zoning Appeals, and the Construction Board of Appeals. Y'all, this is the stuff that impacts where buildings are going to be built, how they're going to be built, what's going to be built. And we encourage folks to get in and sign up for those committees by this Monday. You could do it Monday at the latest. And I'm gonna get up to the screen here, Deontay, and bring it up so folks can see it. There you go. And we have everything we talk about, y'all. It's on our page. So go to the Georgetown NAACP page and their Facebook page, and you will get the details to sign up for these boards, the upcoming events, and more. So we have Hasty Point on this Monday and Tuesday. Monday is going to be in Pawleys Island. Tuesday is going to be in Andrews. They've already had 2 meetings, and but we will encourage you, come on out to Pawleys Island and Andrews. And then we have in the city of Georgetown some open seats on boards, committees, and commissions. Y'all go apply. If you don't apply, you've already told yourself no. If you do apply, force the staff and people who work for us to do what they're supposed to do, put the work in. Deontay, what else do we have coming up also? City of Georgetown City Council meeting on the 16th, Thursday the 16th at 5:30. Get there before 5:30 to sign up for public comments. If you have something to say, you have to sign up before 5:30 and raise your voice, even if it shakes. So this Thursday at 5:30, the City of Georgetown council meeting is happening. And of course, on our Facebook page, we have the entire list of all city council meetings for 2022. So you could go ahead right now and mark your calendar, put those dates on your calendar so you can make sure that you or a friend or a colleague do not miss the meetings. The more of us who attend these meetings, and this is what Ebony said, the more of us who attend these meetings, when you can't attend, we know somebody is there to bring the message back to the people. So get together, get organized, send somebody to represent if you cannot go, and when you can go, go. It is so
and
much.
Also, do not forget, members of Georgetown branch number 5520, our executive committee meeting has changed from this Thursday to this Tuesday at 8 p.m. Again, only executive committee. The regular branch meeting will continue to be Thursday at 7, but executive committee meeting will be this upcoming Tuesday, 8 p.m.
And this Tuesday before 8 p.m. from 6 to 8, we don't keep everybody busy. Deon, we keep everybody busy. We'll be an Heirs Property seminar and workshop, forestry seminar, and that's talking about land use, y'all. If your family owns Heirs Property and you're trying to figure out how to get together,
so important,
and get a clear title and deed, this Tuesday, December 14th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Georgetown Library, 405 Cleveland Street. It's free. Experts, the Heirs Property Preservation Center is going to be there to give their expert advice. This is the good way to get started, folks, to protect your land, not only for right now, but for generations to come.
Ms. Marilyn, what is Heirs Property?
Heirs, good question, Deontay. Heirs Property is when someone dies in your family and they do not leave a will and they own the land, but because they don't leave a will, it by state law, the most the nearest relatives inherit that land. For example, I'll give an example. Say my father recently died, and I'm just giving this as an example. And if he had not left a will, it would have gone to all of the kids automatically. But if I don't leave a will, then it goes to my nieces and nephews and so on. For generations, this has been happening with families. And what ends up happening, you can have 300-500 people with claims to that land. What has happened over generations that developers have come in and by hook or by crook and legitimate means, they've gotten their hands on Black property especially along the coast, and they basically could force the family off and they develop that land. We need to stop that, because when you own land, you own wealth. And that
Yes.
means you need to protect your land and get clear title and deed. And it used to be, but FEMA actually changed their rules that if a hurricane came in and you had suffered damage or loss of home, and you were under an heirs property type situation, if you didn't have clear title, you couldn't get help from FEMA. Many insurance companies would not pay out, and people would end up losing their homes, basically essentially becoming homeless. And that's a deep issue within our community. We don't think about the homeless problem in Georgetown, for example, because many times our families will take us in, but you're still homeless. You just bunk it up with your family, and that happens a lot because somebody has lost their home due to heirs property situation. And we want everybody to have a roof over their head. And this is just one more step in making that happen. Deonta, anything else you could think of about what we've been, any upcoming events?
I think that's it. But I will say, though, as far as heirs property, our ancestors worked so hard for that land to accumulate all of that wealth. So let's protect it. Let's make sure that no one is able to come in and pick it up for pennies on the dollar. Protect what's yours. This meeting and this education is so important. Please come, listen, and do what you can to protect that property.
Very good point, Deontay. Thank you for saying that. I think a lot of people realize that after the Civil War, between the Civil War and the early 1900s, Black people owned like 15 million acres of land.
Yeah.
But we've lost it because of heirs property, but also for other reasons. That the
Pawleys Island is a perfect example.
Yeah, Pawleys Island, the Waccamaw Neck, what they call it now, is a perfect example. Charleston is a perfect example. Hilton Head is a perfect example. And at some point, we got to get better organized. And there are communities just like Georgetown, under a great deal of pressure from overdevelopment, gentrification. And one of the reasons we can either slow it down or stop it is make sure you take care of your heirs property situation and get clear title and deed. And I don't want to beat up on my people. This is not beating up on my people, because I understand a lot of reasons why people lost land. Your children, grandchildren leave for education and economic opportunity. Who's going to inherit that land? It is actually an African tradition to live communally, which basically, and you see it here in the Low Country, the Gullah-Geechee community, where your grandparents built their house, then their children built around them, then their children built around them. That is West African traditions, and no one wrote paper and said, here is the land I'm giving you to build your house. It was barter. It was by word of mouth, oral histories and stuff. Here's your plot on our family land. Go build your house. But because we traditionally didn't have that written piece of paper, not leaving a will clear, it became an heirs property situation. And we see it today. And it's actually a beautiful tradition. But unfortunately, that's African traditions where we live under European legal system, which relies on paper, the written word. That's how deep this is. And there's more information that people need to know than just save their house. What people need to know is, how do I get clear title? How do I get a clear deed to my house? That's what you need to know. But you also have to understand the historical context of why we are where we are right now and why it's so vital that we do what we do. Deontay. All right, Deontay. I think, did we cover everything coming up?
I think so.
It's Christmas time and so much going on. Usually you would think things would slow down, but it's that's we're getting a message.
This has been a busy year, and we're still up under a pandemic as well. So
that's right. That's right. And this stuff is happening for a reason.
Yeah.
I am so happy there was a recent public meeting. Unfortunately, I was out of town and could not attend, but I understand from our colleague, Jackie Williams, that more young people, new faces came out to get educated, at this public meeting about the
Mhm.
tax increment financial system, TIF. You may have heard TIF,
Yeah.
and the zoning overlay in the city of Georgetown, that people are really like, look, we got to get some education. We got to get motivated and activated, engaged citizens in Georgetown and beyond, y'all. This is information. TIF is everywhere. So if you learn about it in Georgetown, the same law applies, say, in Conway, etc. Because it's based on federal laws and ordinances and so on, but it does impact locally through the local ordinances. So, Deontay, big news. I think that's all of our upcoming events and encouragement to get people involved. But Deontay, something happened. Was it yesterday or the day before?
I think it was day before.
The day before that, South Carolina has a visitor.
Yeah.
And man, it made social media the news. And if those of you who do not know, the Kyle Rittenhouse was in South Carolina visiting with the Attorney General
Alan Wilson.
And in particular, they went to lunch at Maurice Bessinger's barbecue. And if y'all don't know the history of Maurice Bessinger, now he's dead now, but while he was alive, he was a notorious racist. He flew the Confederate flag at his restaurants. He had recordings where he talked about slavery was a good thing. And I mean, he was a notorious racist, and it hurt his business. After he passed, his family denounced his views and said, we don't agree with what he said, so we have to respect what they publicly stated. But it is very obvious that when your Attorney General, Alan Wilson, who's a Republican, a very conservative, I'll say party, reluctantly, because they don't have a party platform. It took Kyle Rittenhouse to a restaurant that he knew had the reputation that it does have with the racism. Yeah. He knew a message that he was sending. And Deontay, before I state my opinion on what message he possibly could have been sending, what do you think the message was that Alan Wilson was sending? And I want to hear from our viewing audience too. Drop in the comments if you knew what was going on with Kyle Rittenhouse and Alan Wilson. Drop in the comments your opinion. We want to hear your opinion also. But Deontay, share with us what are your thoughts regarding this Kyle Rittenhouse visit to South Carolina?
Well, I think the overarching message is that he supports the young man if he's going to do this publicly. And above and beyond that, this is the Attorney General of the state. What does this mean as far as maybe upcoming changes in legislation as it relates to our stand your ground laws and our self protection or self-defense laws? It's just a troubling time to live in South Carolina when you see a public figure, the Attorney General, sitting down having lunch with somebody who did such an atrocious act not even a month after he just got off of this thing. So that tells you where he stands, and that tells you what he thinks about this young man's actions. This is dangerous. People, we got to vote. We got to vote. Man, he's got to go. If this is how he feels, it's time for him to find a new profession, because this one ain't for him.
Well, we shouldn't be surprised about Alan Wilson. And his father is Representative Joe Wilson. For those of you who don't know, he represents Congressional District Number 2 in South Carolina. Joe Wilson was the one who was known for shouting out at Barack Obama, and he was censored for it too.
I didn't know Joe Wilson was his father.
Yeah, he's the one that stood up during this State of the Union speech, Barack Obama's first State of the Union speech, and said, "You lie." And ever since then, the decorum of our Congress has been just decreasing. The disrespect between colleagues, but that's part of it. That was another layer added to just disrespect the office that these people sit in. We should not be surprised that his son, who is Attorney General, would invite Kyle Rittenhouse to South Carolina because he's sending a message. And what part of the message is we are now an open carry state.
Yeah.
Kyle Rittenhouse got off because they want to send a message to other young white men who are racist that it's okay to take up arms and kill people over property, and when those people are supporting Black Lives Matter. Historically, people have to understand that white supremacy will take out white people when they support the civil rights and human rights of Black folks and people of color. That is historical. We've seen it. The three gentlemen, the Mississippi freedom riders who were killed, 2 of them were white, 1 was Black. And I apologize that I cannot remember their names. Miss Louiso, who drove freedom riders, and on her way back home, the white men drove her off the road and killed her because they wanted to send the message to white people. Do not step out of your place and support Black people and people of color.
Yeah.
And this Kyle Rittenhouse trial is just another layer, historical layer of sending that message. So when I hear people say, oh, it wasn't racist that he was let off, it wasn't about Black Lives Matter, it most certainly was about Black Lives Matter. It was about sending 2 messages. White people do not support Black Lives Matter, and 2, don't support Black Lives Matter. That was, and 3, unfortunately, it will encourage other young white males to go out and shoot people. And we will see that. We have already seen that happen with in Michigan with the Oxford High School situation when the young man went and shot dead what I believe now 5 classmates. He shot up a school. And the majority of these school shooters, these mass shooters, are white males. Deontay, you work with youth. What are your thoughts?
I don't even know where to start. We just got to do better as a society, and especially as a community, at identifying when these young people have these issues. And when we identify it, we must get them the proper help. Point blank, period. No more excuses. No more, well, this was going on with him, that was going on. No. There's always warning signs. So when we recognize these signs, let's get these people the right help so that there's no more of these situations, because, oh my goodness, one more is too many. And let me just say it like this. I don't support violence. I don't condone violence, but I do support individuals who can and are willing to get a concealed weapons permit, doing what they can to protect themselves and their families. We live in dangerous times right now. So if we live in an open carry state, it is incumbent upon all of us to make sure that we have what is necessary to protect ourselves if somebody else is going to try to harm us.
Deontay, I agree with you. Unfortunately, we are faced. I don't think people realize how precarious our democracy is right now. And this conversation that we are having right now plays a part in that. I would not be surprised if we have a civil war. And in a way, we're going through it now with this encouragement. And Kyle, make no mistake, Kyle Rittenhouse, found not guilty, was sending a message to white males who are just angry and full of racism to pick up arms and go shoot people, in particular those who agree with Black Lives Matter. And let me tell you, it is immoral. It is highly immoral to say, I took up my arms illegally, crossed state lines, driven by my mother to go protect property. If you value a building, property, more than human life, you have no morals. You can rebuild a property. You can rebuild a building because all of them have insurance. But you cannot rebuild a life. You cannot bring back a life because dead is dead. And you hear this strain, and I'm just going to say it. Y'all could be mad at me if you want to, but you hear this strain, and too many within the white population talking about, well, they have a right to protect property. You know, don't burn down houses. Don't burn down buildings. It's going to be hard to rebuild. What you're saying is we value buildings more than we value lives. Mm-hmm. We would rather invest in building than invest in human beings. And we got to be real about this. If you are in business, you have insurance. Rebuild. You know, we should never put property before human beings.
Yes.
And if you don't think this is a historical legacy, they valued plantations more than they valued the human beings that created the wealth of this nation that people still benefit from.
Yeah.
This is not a one-off. This is not an island of itself of what Kyle Rittenhouse did. This is a continuation of white supremacy, systemic racism. And we continually cover it up. And I say we, white folks, continuously cover it up because they don't want to deal with it. But more importantly, it's because they benefit from it. And
you
let
talk
me
about.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Ms. Marlon. You talked about the overarching message that him getting off was sending a message to not support Black Lives Matter. If you are on the side of the fence that it's not about a message, it's about the letter of the law, and they were just doing what is right by the law. If that's the case, why did he get off on the weapons charge as well? The young man wasn't old enough to have the weapon in the first place. So why did the judge decide to drop that charge when it's obvious he was guilty of it? It's got to be about the message. Ain't no other way around it.
Mm-hmm. 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 And let me take it to the next step, the next level of white supremacy and systemic racism. I was not surprised that the three gentlemen with the Ahmaud Arbery place were found not guilty. I think the jurors, and no one knows who they are, they haven't spoken out publicly, they made the right decisions. I think on an individual level, they found it in their hearts to find those men guilty. They looked at the evidence and they found him guilty. However, there also was a message sent from this institution, our justice system, that we're willing to throw these middle-aged redneck men away so we can say to you, see, look, we're not racist. The system works. Yeah. And the system does work. Because on the other hand, we'll give you something. That's the Ahmaud Arbery case. But on the other hand, we'll take something away from you. That's the Kyle Rittenhouse case to ensure that the system stays in place. Kyle Rittenhouse found not guilty was a call to arms for angry white young males. Ahmaud Arbery, the guilty was a message to say we're willing to throw these older white men who've lived their lives, and they ain't the richest white people, so we're willing to throw them away to sustain the system. Because I can guarantee you a lot of people said, and I know because I read it, the system worked. Look, they were found guilty. And you know, the Americans are notorious for getting very comfortable. We're very, especially white folks. You know, I know y'all mad at me, man. I keep saying them white folks. It's not all white folks. I know we ally. So I always got to say the disclaimer, Deon, because you know some people, man, we're talking about all white folks. No, I'm talking about the racist white folks. The active racists and the passive racists. The moderates that Dr. Martin Luther King talked about. Because the moderates are always telling you, wait, it's going to work out, while we getting slaughtered and killed.
Yeah.
It's going to work out. Just let the system work. It'll eventually, don't push it. You're pushing it too hard. Those are the folks that look at Ahmaud Berry's results and say, the system works okay. I can go back home. I don't have to protest anymore. Life is good now. Well, black folks, we understand, because we have to live with racism every single day. We understand that was just a one-off guilty verdict.
We got to know the difference between systemic change and a symbolic victory.
Exactly. Yeah. Good morning, President Neal. We're going to be wrapping up in another 10 minutes, but I know you got something to say. How you doing? I know you had a very important meeting, so it's good to see you.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting meeting this morning, the general and the executive committee meeting. And you all are hitting it on the head what came out of the meeting. Marilyn, you said we are getting too comfortable. And they talked about that this morning from their redistricting, how the House has, sit comfortable and we in the chance of losing 4 seats. And even those that minorities that's sitting in the seats, they voted for it. Don't even know what they're voting for. So we have some challenges, and we have to really challenge our representative and get some serious candidates out there. We cannot get comfortable with these candidates that we have. No candidate should not go unchallenged, local or state or national, and the theme this year for the state Dr. King Day celebration is why we can't wait. I presented it at the committee the other night, and they thought it was a theme that was really fitting for the time, and there's a theme that's fitting for the time because we talk about it a lot. And I always think about the theme that Ebony came with. We are made for more. So it puts us in a position to move forward and quit getting lagged, because we have to get uncomfortable to do things. And we have to also be undignified about doing it. The churches, everyone. It's now time you have to get your boots back on the ground. I sat at the meeting the other night with the overlay zone meeting with AFL-CIO. It was very interesting, and I was very proud of our youth, especially the young lady Shakima Smalls and Najee. Man, they really speak power with intelligence to someone that was sitting there, one of the new councilmen, Agner, that really, they felt as though he looked at them as they were meaningless. They have no meaning behind what they said, but they corrected that very quick and made sure he understands that they will respect them when they're making comments and don't overtalk them and don't overlook them. They really addressed them well. So that's the youth that we are pushing forward now. Not youth, but young people. And that young adult unit that's going to have to live with this mess that we are dealing with right now in the redistricting. Because 10 years, some of us might not even be here. I'm 62 years old, so I'm not promised. No one is, but I'm in that age group. So they have to get involved. So what we're doing, the NAACP, we're asking every executive committee member to bring in an adult, Deontay's age or under. You know what I'm saying? Bringing that young adult with all that power and knowledge and understanding, because they're in Georgetown, and we are reaching out to them. And everyone that I spoke with agreed. And they already gave me a name and stuff. And just membership, pay for their membership. Don't even wait on them to pay. Pay for it. Get them involved. Then we can move on from there. Because that's just a small Christmas gift. We want to do this before the 31st of December. We want 24 young adults before the 31st of December. That's what we're pushing for. Just in case you didn't hear it yet, Marilyn, you're here at the executive meeting on Tuesday, Deontay. You're here again then, but you can get an early start now, because we are pushing for that young adult. We're pushing them up front like we do everything else, and we're going to push them. And the noise have to go away. We have to come with substance, intelligence, and make sure that they understand that they works for us. We have some people that got elected to that city council, and they pose themselves as kings more than servants. Not to address that the other night at the meeting. They're not kings, they're servants. So they need to act that way. talking down to people and stuff of that nature. And when you bring in capitalists and realtors, I don't have nothing against them for their personal life, but you don't bring them in to design a process for your city to move forward, and they not benefit. They came in to benefit personally. So we have to be careful with that, because that's where gentrification starts. When they start talking with taxes and larger buildings and all that other stuff, that's fine, but that needs to be identified in the overlay plan, what areas those higher taxes are going with those buildings. And we have to make sure we protect those other areas with ordinances and, stuff of that nature in these homes. These zoning and these committees that they sit on in the city, I know that some are still open up until Monday. We need to identify people to put them in those positions to make sure that they're there so they'll get the understanding of what's going on with their community. You can't sit on the outside. You have to get on the inside and work. So, and that's most of what I have to say, Marilyn. But we have to fight, because we are made for more, and that's why we can't wait. That's the direction we headed into 2021. We're going to have a powerful, powerful move in 2021. And our project is local leaders have to be held accountable. All of them, school district, county council, city council, you name it. They must be held accountable. Superintendents, whoever, county councilmen, county councilwomen, it don't matter. They must be held accountable. And that's not in a mean way. We have to make sure what we put them there for, they are doing that, and quit talking about stuff and do it. Because some of the decisions that's being made now, Marilyn, it's being made from a thoughtless position. Thoughtless. When you could take over $4 million of funding and just split it between 4, because that was the easy thing to do. You see what I'm saying? We need to put money where the needs are first. Needs are. And you're talking about monies that was Recovery Act monies. You see what I'm saying? Recovery Act money. Just split it into 4. Everybody don't need recovery. So why are we splitting it into 4? It was thoughtless, and it tells you that we have to put people in these positions that could think beyond the easy way to do things. They have to get into the midnight hours. If they're working their jobs, get off the city council and the county council. Go do your job. But put people there that could do the work. They're getting stipends, and they're looking at that as salaries, I guess. But that's what we have to do. And we have to call them out. Black, white, indifferent, it don't matter. Wherever the money is, we have to go after and call those folks out. That's our game plan for 2021. Thank you, Marilyn.
Thank you. One thing I do want to say, and I understand what you were saying, I think you give the state elected officials too much credit. The 4 who voted for the redistricting, that they didn't know what they were doing. They knew exactly what they were doing. What they put ahead is they forget that the seat is not theirs. The seat belongs to the people.
There you go.
But they vote like it's their seat. That ain't their seat. It's the people's seat. And the people have the right. That's what we're fighting for. The people have the right to determine who will sit in that seat and represent them. And too many of our elected officials, as you were saying, Marvin, whether it's local, state, federal, have forgotten that you serve the people. You are a public servant, and we take them out, take them all out. Yeah, you saw that recently in the city of Georgetown.
Yep.
I know some folks thought they won because who they turned out. You won because who didn't turn out and who people didn't vote for, because they were dissatisfied with their leadership. And what they're finding out now is when you go into these public meetings or these public spaces and you walk in like, your stuff don't stink, they're finding out that people are getting educated. They're not tolerating foolishness. They're simply not tolerating disrespect. And that's, but it's the battle. That's why this is an ongoing battle. And when I said the other day when we had a ministerial meeting, in 2026, it will be 500 years since the first enslaved African stepped foot in Georgetown County, South Carolina. It took 500 years to get where we are right now today. I hope it ain't going to take another 500 years to clean this mess up, but it is going to be longer than our lifetime. But you got to start now to make the systemic change that Deontay talked about. We are changing systems. Ultimately, institutions have to fall and be rebuilt. And we have to make decisions as individuals. Are you going to be part of that change or are you not? And what do we mean by an individual? You have to understand that it's going to take sacrifice. A sacrifice of time, a sacrifice of probably funds, and a sacrifice of maybe friends or people you admire. Because once you make that decision as an individual that you are going to effect change, you're going to lose friends. You're going to lose people that you thought admired you or you admired them. But the freedom in that decision is what we want to have for the entire community. We got to start walking the walk and stop talking the talk. Change is not easy. A lot of people talk about we need to change the community, but they are unwilling to put the work in. And we are giving you, when we tell you about the Heirs Property Workshop, when we tell you about the Hasty Point public input meetings, when we tell you about the NAACP meetings, when we tell you about Georgetown City Council and County Council and so on meetings, we are giving you the pathway to change. Just show up. Even if you don't know, you show up to learn. And then once you learn, you speak out. But you got to take that first step. It is, if you want change, it is no longer acceptable that you just talk the talk. You better come walk the walk. Go ahead, Deontay. I see you moving. I feel the vibe from you.
Nah, you have me over here saying amen. You speaking to the facts. You putting it on them.
Yeah, because we get tired. People need to realize, y'all see us on Spotlight, y'all see us doing stuff in the newspaper every once in a while, or we're out there. But each of us sitting here today, and others who can't be here with us today, Ebony, Jackie, there are others, Steve, Mary Ann, Joan DeRay, have made a conscious decision to put the work in. And we get hits from it. Yeah. We get hits from outside the community. We get hits from inside the community. This is no joke. So I'm not going to lie to people that this ain't easy street. But it's one of the best things I've ever done in my life when I said I was going to speak out and fight for change. And I've never looked back. That's as an individual. I know once I made that change, I impact somebody. The same with Deontay and Marvin, and I apologize, I'm speaking for them, but I see them because you are going to attract like-minded people. But we need more people in the fight. We need more people in the fight because Lord knows we get tired.
But Merle,
yeah,
just imagine if you would take the fight so personal, where you start demonizing people and those that's fighting. Mm-hmm. That's no longer a fight. Okay? That's hell. We have to make sure that we understand when people, especially on Facebook and stuff, I guess they say they beat me up on Facebook, but people could only identify themselves by what they write and what they put out. They could never identify you because of so many things that comes out. I mean, it's just so false in makeup. When I see stuff like that, it makes me start digging even harder because there's something else going on mentally. We have helpful people like that. We have Deontay and we got counselors and stuff that can speak with them about their conditions. But that stuff is mute to me. We have to make sure that we are fighting for the purpose. Civil, social justice. We're not a social club. And institutional racism and this stuff that we are dealing with, that's what we need to fight at. If individual groups have a fight that's focusing on democracy and moving this city and county forward, go for it. But we have the tendency to attack each other, that crab in the basket. They look at the individual instead of what the organization is doing. Once we do our annual layout, have a fight that's focusing on democracy and moving this city and county forward, go for it. But you know, we have to attack each other, that crab in the basket. You know, they look at the individual instead of what the organization is. We have to attack each other, that crab in the basket. You know, they look at the individual instead of what the organization is. We have to attack each other, that crab in the basket. You know, they look at the individual instead of what the organization is. Is that me? Each other, that crab in the basket.
I guess you needed to say that more than once.
I guess, you know, wherever that came from.
But we speak so often about the crab in the bucket mentality, and Ms. Marilyn, you spoke to individuals who would just come out against what you're doing simply because they don't agree with it. But there are so many people who claim to be community leaders as well, who will fight each other for no other reason than one person feels that the other person's platform is a little bit bigger, or one person feels like they're not getting the credit for something. I don't understand that. It's never been about credit. It's about the work. It's about the people, and it's about doing what's right. So let's all work together to get the job done. All of this fighting amongst each other, that saddens me so much. And this happened to me no less than 2 weeks ago, and I shared this with Mr. Neal as well, and I'm not going to say no names or nothing like that, but I had two gentlemen who claim to be community leaders come at me because somebody on a national network spoke about something that I said. No other reason. And they got upset about that. So if we can't lift each other up, how are we ever going to do anything to uplift the entire community and to change the nation as a whole? We got to love each other, and we got to love ourselves first.
That's so right, Deontay. And I know, you know, there's some folks out there, there's been chatter regarding me, and I actually wasn't even thinking about them when I was talking. I was talking to our community that we need to walk the walk and put the work in. But you are right. We Deontay, you get hits, and I'm sorry that happened.
I can take it.
And yeah, we can all take it, but we need more foot soldiers. We need more soldiers. We do in the fight. Yeah, I'm not scared. I am deeply concerned about our democracy. I don't think people are really paying attention to how close we are right now, folks, to losing this democracy. The conservatives, far right, radicals, alt-right, Republican Party is maneuvering right now to end democracy. They do not care. And I'm not saying this, I'm saying this as a citizen, not as a representative of any political party. Because I pay attention. I read, I pay attention what's in the news, and we are being failed at the highest levels of government when it comes to the filibuster, when it comes to voting rights, when it comes to income inequality, the wage gap, all of this and more play a part in creating our democracy. And we have to fight for it. We do. It has never come easy, it's in particular for the Black community. Every time the Black community fights for their rights, everybody benefits. And I'll give you one example that most people do not realize. The Civil Rights Movement led to the Immigration Act of 1964, allowing more Black and brown immigrants to come into this country. And most people don't even realize that. Don't even realize that. Have probably never even heard of that Immigration Act, but it came out of the Civil Rights Movement deliberately. When Blacks stood up for their human and civil rights and voting rights, we didn't stand up just for Black people. We stood up for immigrants. We stood up for poor white people, because this country was founded for wealthy land-owning white males. The systems were created to protect them. And right now they are in fear of losing that power because the Black and brown population is increasing. So if people of color, Black people, Indigenous people, people of color do not get together and unify in this fight for democracy. They want an apartheid system. Just this week in the state of Washington, a municipality passed an ordinance the school district, passed an ordinance recognizing Asian Americans as white. That is, can you get even more in your face to try to drive a wedge between different minorities? And that's American tradition too, y'all, because Italians, the Irish were not considered white until they assimilated, because let's be honest, racism means you want to be comfortable. So you're going to affiliate yourself with that white standard, because let's be honest, being white is comfortable. They're blatant now. Now, I give credit the Asian Americans, those that I saw posting on TikTok, because I'm on TikTok now, can y'all believe that? So the algorithm gives me very liberal type information or opinions, that the Asian Americans are like, we're not playing this game, you know? But yeah, that was blatant. That's blatant racism. They're sending the message to Asian Americans: if you identify as white, we're gonna make your life good and comfortable. So you can leave them black folks and them brown folks out there by themselves.
Give up your culture.
Thank you. Give up your culture and become white.
Give up your culture. You know, it's interesting, Marilyn, because, you know, just listening to you, it reminds me of when Donald Trump tried to buy Greenland, to pump in more white folks into American stuff. You know, we have to be so careful in how we handle and what people are doing, as Marilyn said. Love your culture, whoever you are, white, black, green, whatever. The problem is, no one should control your culture. That's yours. God gave you that. See, the problem is people trying to control the culture of others. That is, you know, that is so, it's so now, Maryland. Just like Georgetown right now. You have to go through a training to do a Black History tour, Black people. And guess who's giving the training? White people. To tell you what to say about Georgetown and the Black history of Georgetown, the history of Georgetown. Not just Black history, the history of Georgetown. Who made them to be all know all? See what I'm saying? So we have to continue to speak volume to who we are and who our people is. The scare factor is, you know, and it comes down to that critical race theory stuff. It's all kind of means to control African American history in Georgetown. You keep it out of the schools, you keep it out of the books, you stop the Black authors like Steve Williams and Jackie Williams and the Marilyn Hemingways and these. You stop right there, then everybody's happy. You know, we can't continue to do that. You know, we have to fight through it because that's their policy, that's their rule. Who made them to be all know all of Black history? And then when you dig back into it, if they really want to clean up something, clean up some of those white wishes that came with Christopher Columbus and all these other clowns that talk about discovering America and all this stuff. Then you really need to get rid of that holiday and put a decent holiday in there for Harriet Tubman, someone that really did some fighting. You know, I could even support a holiday for. I heard him talk about Bob Dole and the fight and the stuff that he did, in his during his remarks that President Joe Biden was sending out. You know, it's amazing. It's just amazing what comes out. A lot of things you don't know about people until their death, the eulogy. Eulogy tells the history of what persons have done and the great things. So I guess they didn't talk about the bad things he have done. So if that's the case, all of us will have some of that. But I know one thing, he was pushing for that voting rights bill and stuff of that nature. So that tells a story about it. And he was a Republican, but he was about equal rights for all and for rights for people to vote. You know, and Mitch McConnell, all of them was back there doing that same time. But you get a clown like Donald Trump to show up as president, and all of them just turn coat. But what's going to happen, Marilyn, what they tried to do with us, it's going to affect them also. Because we all on the same boat. We're on the same boat, and we have to continue to fight. Continue to fight.
We do.
You know, there's no other way to do it.
JD, thank you for this scripture. It's so timely and it's so right. And unfortunately, y'all, I just heard from a family member I gotta go check on. So I'm gonna have to go. We're gonna have to wrap up. Yeah. So Deontay, any last words as we wrap up? And thank y'all. First, I want to say thank everybody for joining us this morning. Very good discussion. Deontay, any final words?
As always, I love you all. Continue to love yourselves.
Marvin?
Just keep the Spain family in prayer, you know, and we continue to reach out to them and do whatever you have to do to lift them up and stuff, because, you know, that was a tragic. I lost a family member the other day. I have to go to Connecticut next week, Wednesday, you know, so, you know, I understand that. You know, that was just threatening. It's the same thing. No sickness, no nothing, just aneurysm, and she's gone, you know. Stalin family member. JD knows her and stuff. And I talked to him about it. But it's on my father's side of the family. We're just gonna continue to fight, pray, and make sure we reach out to everyone. Exclude none. Include all. Those that want to be excluded, bye. That's a choice. But we're not going to exclude you. Yeah. God bless you.
Very true. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I do want to say Asians, there are countries that are majority Asian, but there is not an Asian country. I put that comment up, and, you know, we have to understand how we are all brothers and sisters, y'all, and working together. We do not want wedges to be drawn between us, and we have to be very careful in what we say. And I'm just pushing back on that just a little bit. I love everybody. I even love the person who put that comment up, because I know they mean no harm. And we do have to put the work in our community. We do have to put the work in and get our community straight. But we also have to join with other communities to fight white supremacy. That's the enemy. White supremacy is the enemy. Systemic racism is the enemy. And history shows when Black folks push things, we always push it when we bring others along with us. All right. We've always had allies. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Deontay, love you as always. I got to go get some sun today. Just found out I have vitamin D deficiency. So I'm taking supplements now, and I got to go stand out in the sun for a few 15 minutes.
Man, y'all look lovely today, though, Marilyn. Y'all look so Christmassy and stuff. You know, I popped into Columbia, you know, with my niece, with my grandbaby here and stuff. She have a parade tomorrow, so I have on my red and green and stuff tomorrow. So, Deontay, y'all look great, you know.
Thank you.
Feeling a little festive this morning.
Hey, y'all set the branch up very nicely, and y'all represent so well all the time.
Thank you. Really appreciate it, Marvin. Be careful out there in your travels. You too, Deontay. Love y'all, everything. Love our audience. And we'll see you next Saturday at 11 a.m. Goodbye, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Goodbye.